Hey, Justin Hodson here on another episode of the HOD Seat. We have a really special guest. I'm really honored, privileged to have somebody actually fly all the way out to the Hodson PI studios in Temecula, California. Mr. Jay Marin from Florida. How's it going? Good to
Good,
see you,
good.
man.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
to
you for
see you.
having me.
Yeah. So, Jay, really honored that you came out here. I love your career. I love what you're doing out in Florida and across the nation. Um, Tell us about your company. What's your company name and what do you guys do?
So, first of all, I don't know if it's a privilege for me to be here for you having us, but yes, definitely coming from the East Coast to the West Coast, it's well worth it. Number one, and thank you again for having me. But my company name is Specialized Investigation Consultants. We're based out of Florida. We have two offices, one in South Florida in Miami, and one in Central Florida, which is in Lakeland, Florida, in the Tampa Bay area. Um, we have a full service firm, but specifically we specialize in corporate investigation and business litigation and surveillance. That's our main focus of what we do every day.
All right, great. So let's talk about how did you get into this kind of work? How did you start the company?
Okay, so that's a interesting story. I started the company back in 2013. I was still in law enforcement at the time, and to kind of give you the reason why we ended up, or I say we because of my wife, everything's we.
Of course.
Why we decided to go this route, and I was really felt that I was called to do this was I used to be in a gangs and a street crimes division, which we dealt obviously gangs, violent crimes, and I was on IRS criminal investigation task force. During that time, we were dealing with a lot of our gang members, and it got to a point that while working these cases where these gang members were doing tax fraud, ID theft, re-encoded credit cards, um, we started to receive death threats. And what I mean by we, myself and my wife, we were doing our investigation and we had jail calls that we were monitoring to see what our activity was going to be on the streets once we arrested some of our gang members. And they made mention that they were coming for me and my wife. And then I had just had my son that was 3 weeks old, my youngest. So then obviously hearing those words, if you don't have a family, it's like, all right, whatever, you want to fight, no problem, we'll battle this out, battling evil, that was my whole thing. I was just there to protect and serve kind of thing. I love serving, I love helping people, and that's what I was always used to, and I loved it. But now when it started involving my family, I had to take a step back and say, okay, like, what's going to be the best thing for my family and myself. So long story short, had to get up and move. We had to sell the house. I had a different rental car every week. Like, we were moving every 6 months. And I told my wife, I was like, hey, I was like, I think I have an idea. I was like, I can't keep doing this because you guys aren't harmed. And I think I want to still help people and serve, but the only other way to do it in the public sector, maybe I can be an investigator. So I opened up the company in 2013 while I was still in the police department, and that's what ended up making me start this journey that we're in right now, and I'm blessed to be where I'm at right now as well. And you know we kicked it off, I got it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna one day make it into the private sector. That was my thought at that point, but I was still in the public sector. My decision then was, how am I gonna actually make this transition? How am I gonna leave a pension? How am I gonna leave benefits guaranteed for my family? But I'm a man of faith, so through a lot of prayer, I just waited and I said, you know what, this is what I have to do. And my wife's like, hey, I'm gonna go back to the hospital because at that time we had our youngest, and she stayed out for a little while we were having these threats or whatnot until we can get everybody arrested. And she's like, I'm gonna go back to work on December 16th, 2014. Never forget it. I said, no problem. And that was the goal. I just didn't know how on January 1st I was gonna back out. And um, and towards the end of the year, around that time, I was involved in a police involved shooting, and shortly after that, my heart went into an arrhythmia. They transported me to the hospital. I was there for a couple days, but it took several hours to kind of get it under control. And I remember my sergeant coming in, and I had my gun on me still, and he came to pick up my gun because I was in the hospital. And as soon as he did that, I looked at my wife. This was December 4th, 2014. and my wife was supposed to go back to work December 16th, 2014, and I was supposed to leave January and just try to maybe make a transition to, start this new career. And I remember looking at her. I'm like, well, I was like, I guess now I know how I'm gonna leave. And then she said, what? I was like, I guess this is God's decision to leave on how I'm gonna go out, not mine. Because I wasn't expecting that to happen. I didn't know if January came, I was gonna say, okay, I'm doing this. But technically, being involved in law enforcement, getting hurt in the line of duty, there's a heart bill, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Um, I guess this was God's way of saying, okay, now you're done with police work. Now you're gonna go into this next step, and that's what happened. I was able to, finish there. I got my pension, retired, and I started this new endeavor. Just
Wow.
moving forward. Yeah, a lot of people don't know the story. They just
I
they,
didn't know that. That's
yeah, it's a small part of it. Yeah,
that's wow. It's crazy how life changes us and how these things happen. But look at you now, man. I mean,
yeah. I would
you're
have never
doing
thought.
great. You're doing great,
Yeah,
and you're a success. Not only were you a success in the police department, but you're a success now. And I mean, you're winning, man. So
yeah.
good for you, man. That
Thank you.
wow. I didn't know that story. That
Yeah,
is that's a crazy background.
yeah. That's
So
how it all started.
yeah, so specialized investigations consultants.
Correct.
Okay, so SIC. That's
Correct.
what you guys go by. So what I mean, so you guys have a full spectrum of services. What's your bread and butter? What are you doing day to day? What's keeping the light bills paid?
My team, my staff. That's number one. Without them, I'm nothing. Like I tell them all the time. Like, Michael Jordan needed a team. No matter how good one person can be, you're not as good as your team, and that reflects on how we've grown as a company and the culture we have in our company. Um, Mostly, our company's bread and butter, I would say, is a lot of corporate and business investigations and litigation. Specifically, we have a good niche with our rental car companies, like all your typical Enterprise, Alamo, National, Six Rental. We do a lot of their investigations. They have a lot of fraud that happens there, uh, not just with clients, but there's also internal fraud that happens too, which leads to their clients committing fraud, vehicles missing, getting stolen, going across the border, business litigation ends up coming out of it. But and corporate internal investigation, workplace violence, and there's also a lot of threats that happen in these companies. You know how it is. You're a large company, you might terminate an employee and something bad happens. Then we also work on that, just not only to do the investigative part, but we also help them with the protection part, make sure that them and their employees are also safe. But I would say between the investigations we do with them and business and corporate litigation, that's like our main bread and butter, aside from everything else that
Yeah.
we do.
So what would be what's a red flag for you where you're like, look, I can't take this case, I can't do this investigation? We all, as professionals, there's times that we have to say no. What is that for you? What is a
I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of times people want to say, "Oh, I'm a private investigator," and yes, we can take cases, and a lot of investigators that are licensed um, take whatever case comes their way, and they're not educated enough. However, on our, I guess you can say, business model and on our foundation itself, we make sure that just because you come to us asking for work doesn't mean that we're going to do your work. And what do I mean by that? We screen all our clients. Just because you're coming here, oh, I'm going to do this case. Here's a $20,000 retainer. I need this done, and I'm paying you, and you got to do what I say. No, it doesn't work that way, right? Number one, we're very big on integrity and on ethics. So if we see something's not right, we're not going to take the case. I don't care how much money you throw our way. And it's not just to me, but my staff knows that. We have people, whether it's Eric and operations, Jeremy with business development, Lauren inside the office, or Cindy. They know that if they hear something that doesn't sound right, they're going to stop them and say, hey, we're going to look into it and let you know. We'll do our due diligence, even though you're our client, because at the end of the day, it's our name, it's our reputation out there. A lot of these clients also call and they have restraining orders against individuals. We verify that and we make them sign in our contract that there's no current or active injunction against them. But depending on what comes out of our client's mouth and their request, it will be if we decide to take the case, as long as it's lawful and it's ethical, we'll go ahead and take a case. If not, we don't waste our time. There's a lot of business out there to be worrying about one person that's going to give you a good amount of money. It's not worth it.
Yeah. So there's probably some one man private investigation firms that are watching this video now. What are some what's some advice you can give them on building their business?
The main advice I would say is, first of all, with yourself, be genuine, be honest, and have integrity, because your character will be seen by other people in the industry, and they're going to know if you're genuine, if you have integrity, and if you're just an honest person. That's the main thing, because unfortunately, Justin, uh, and I know there's been some laws in California recently. One bad apple can make everything change. And if you're not doing the right thing, you get the wrong reputation and a bad reputation for the industry in totality, with every industry, but specifically ours, because we have certain access and resources that the typical average client or individual doesn't, per se. But what I could say to them, number one, is, aside from working on yourself and being genuine and having your integrity, is join investigative associations. Associations that you join, number one, they're great because you can now see how a lot of other things operate. You're on listservs, you're going to conferences, they have monthly meetings, but you're able to learn a lot of what's going on out there. But that helps you develop. That's what I did. I started just going to conferences. I just started going to conferences back to back, and learning. And I would identify, it's almost in us, like, okay, these people seem genuine. They know what they're talking about. These people maybe I should stay away from. And that's just from observing, person's body language and character tells you a lot. So I would definitely say associations are a big one. And the second thing would be networking. Networking in the right places around the right people. There's a saying that says proximity is power. And if you're in the proximity of the right individuals, it's going to help you as an individual yourself excel, and then it's going to help your business succeed as well. So those are the two types of things I would focus on. And obviously,
Is that why you flew all the way out here to be closer to
yeah,
me?
I did. I even try to have a similar
Yeah, look
jacket
at
like
us,
yours, right? You
man.
see that?
We've got the same stylist.
But yeah, so it's just, you know people like yourself, not for nothing. I know this is your spot and all that, but I've said this outside of here. I've said this to other people. I think I've even mentioned this to you before in just general settings. There's not many people in our industry that you can look at and say, man, they're doing great things. Man, they're doing things right. They're doing things, like I like to say, effectively and efficiently. Because everybody can grow big, but everything's falling apart underneath, or your clients start to suffer and feel the effects because the work product is not the same anymore. Just because you're trying to get big, don't try to just get big. Just uh, anytime you want to do something, you want to do it right, especially with your own business. You want to make sure it's solid. People depend on you, employees depend on you, family depends on you. So your decisions have a lot of weight. And I think, when you're around certain people like this, you can see, hey, they're going to help me go to the next level, or hey, I know there's stuff that I can help this person with. But being genuine and being honest and having great character and integrity is the main thing, not just for your growing your business, but in this industry, your reputation is everything.
Oh,
you know
100%. I agree. And it's also it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And you'll see a lot of flash in the pan type companies. They're like, "Oh, wow, this is the big new thing."
Mhm.
In a year they're gone.
Yep.
And it's because they don't hold themselves to certain standards. They don't understand that it's a marathon. And ethics and reputation, all of those things are just as important as the quality of your investigation. So no, I agree 100%. That's a great perspective. So at SIC, let's, without breaking any confidentiality or anything like that, can you walk us through a case, like what sets SIC, their process, aside from another investigator in Florida?
um, I think for the most part, size wise, um, we are probably one of the biggest in Florida. Agency wise, we're one of the biggest in Florida agency wise, if not the biggest. And it's not just because of size, as what I'm saying this, that makes us different. What makes us different and separates us as our company is that education in the industry. Like, we know what we're doing, we know what we're talking about. I send my staff to several conferences. You've seen, I've sent them all the way to California to learn, and I pull them. It takes time away from pulling them from the office or pulling them from some of their cases, but I try to split it up where I can send some to California conferences or Texas, Indiana, Chicago. World Association of Detectives was just there, and obviously in Florida, I take as many people as I can. But education uh, and knowledge is what kind of really sets us apart, as well as having the resources that we have, having the network we have, where we can make a phone call and I can say, hey, I need somebody in Canada right now. I say, give me a second, I'll go ahead and I'll handle that for you. Your clients appreciate it when they can come to you and you can make things happen. Um, so we go kind of like under the GSD thing. Excuse my French on this, but our motto is for GSD is get shit done, and clients love that because we can go ahead and get everything done, but we get it done right. So education, training, knowledge, resources, efficiency, and communication. Communication is big, big thing for our industry. We're not in your typical industry that it's 9 to 5. We are not 9 to 5. You growing a business, this. We do a lot for the business and a lot
24/7.
for our employees to be able to get to the levels that we're at, but most importantly, they're at. And our employees know that we're here to help them. We help them grow. We train them, and our big motto at work, and it's on social media. We've done a couple of things. We work hard and we play hard. When it's time to play, we'll play, but everybody knows when it's time to work, everybody has each other's back, and we go ahead and go full force.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. We like having fun at work too, and so I like that. To get on the acronyms, so it's your KSAs. That's what you're promoting is knowledge, skill, and abilities. You're growing your team. You know that you reinvest in your team, that there's going to be a ROI, there's a return on investment, because you're continuing to educate them and they're getting better at their skills. And I hear you talk about your team a lot. I mean, it is very important to appreciate your team and understand that just because you're at the top,
Yeah.
that you're not in front of them, that you're next to them,
Right.
and that it's a team battle.
Right.
Yeah, so I see you doing that a lot, and I really appreciate that. What's the future hold? I mean, where do you see, where's SIC in the next 5 years? Where are you going?
That's a good question because we're visionaries, right? We have goals, we have visions, we got to have our missions in place to move forward. In the next 5 years, we want to at least be more than doubled of what we're at now. However, we're working on other smaller divisions and units, I would say, within our company that we can help provide other services to our client, as well as not just provide them, but be almost what they call SME, subject matter experts, that they know they can come to us and they'll get the answers. If they need experts, we'll go ahead and handle that for them too. But another thing is like, I I also tell my clients, I don't know it all. But if I can get you the answer, I will find it. Or if I don't do something specifically that you're asking for, I will put you in contact with an expert or somebody that can do that. And I think clients really appreciate that because they see you're being honest. You're not just like, oh, I'll do it all. I do this, I do that. And then you can't even come through, follow through with whatever you're doing or even know what you're doing. So I think that's very important. But in the next 5 years, um, definitely more than double of what we have now for our full-time staff. But most importantly, I want everybody on my staff to be able to succeed just the same way the company is succeeding, and for them to be blessed and for them to make a lot more money. Everybody knows there's nobody in our company that's going to be stagnant. Nobody has been here making the same amount of money that they were from day one. And we take care of them, we give them bonuses, but my appreciation to them is thanking them for where they've gotten our company as a whole, because like I said, it's not just about me, it's about the company itself. And I just want them to keep growing and succeeding with me, and maybe under the ones that are currently here, build a couple staff members under each that they'll be able to manage, and they can kind of like pass the same culture down as well.
That's smart. Very similar to how we built our company, and it you cannot grow things alone.
Yep.
So before we wrap things up, what's one thing that about your career in private investigations that would surprise just potential clients or people or public generally?
So Aside from our investigative stuff, I think I mentioned this to you before. We also have um, an executive protection division that we do a lot of executive protection work for, high net worth individuals, CEOs. Obviously, healthcare is a big issue now after what unfortunately happened not so long ago. Um,
Are you referring to the
the New
shooting of
York,
this CEO?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we've gotten a little increase with that because a lot of CEOs and high net worth individual, whether private equity or just self-made CEOs, aside from insurance, there's a big scare for that, and there's a lot of wealth conferences and insurance conferences that happen in South Florida, and everybody's taking the right precautions. But the reason I bring that up is because like there's obviously some NDAs and confidentiality stuff that I can't like really speak about. But what I like, and I'll just give you a quick scenarios of my team and teamwork and having the ability and resources that we, for the most part, we take pride in what we do. I'll give you a case. We we had a case that somebody was making threats online to one of our clients, um, which obviously we can't disclose, but they were being anonymous on Twitter, blasting my client along with other people. And a call came in from the FBI that they were advising my client, "Hey, this is happening. Just to give you guys a heads up, etc." We do a lot of work with this client. So what did they do? They contacted us right away. So they call us back, and we're actually in the middle of a NALI conference, National Association of Legal Investigators. We were in the middle of that conference, and they're like, "Hey, this is going on, XYZ, blah blah blah." No problem. I pulled the team out. I said, "Hey, get outside." We went outside, and within 2 hours, with this person that was masking their identity, fake user accounts, just continuously going at it, we were able to identify him, and we provided information to the client. Client was super happy. Everything was good. Um, 2.5, 3 hours later, we get a phone call from the client, and they're like, "Guess what?" And we're like, "What?" They're like, "The FBI called us." I was like, "Okay." They're like, "The guys you identified? Yep, that's our guy. We told them we already knew before you, and they were wondering how the heck did they find out that this was our guy without any other exterior resources." And then our client's response was, "We know what our team is made of, and we know what our team can handle," and they took care of what they needed to. So that was really good because, you know, you're basically providing a service and getting information before you know a prestigious agency per se. So but our team comes together and has that done, which is why we enforce our team to always, hey, be there for us, and we're going to be there for you. And our clients know that we're the same way. Whatever we need, we're here. So be there for us, and we're going to be there for you. So.
That's cool. Yeah, I think it reinforces the 24/7. I mean, you're at a conference and things happen.
Mhm.
It could be 2 o'clock in the morning, but we're action takers and problem solvers. We get on top of it and we get it done. So that's cool.
And we lead from the top. It's not just like, hey, you do this, you do this, like, hey, I'm going to be in the battleground with you. Let's get this done. Let's game plan. Let's strategize. What are we
Yeah,
going to do? And we're doing it right there with them. It's the same thing. When they know it's time for everybody to jump in and all hands on deck, everybody comes through.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so I asked you a bunch of questions. That's the hot seat, but we always allow our guests to ask questions. So, what questions do you have for me?
My question is, in this industry and what we do, how do you still have all your hair? That's what I want to know. Because apparently
just
I'm missing on that one.
just I don't know. I think my grandparents, I guess, but
Yeah,
yeah,
great genetics.
yeah, genetics. But I can tell you that I got a lot of gray.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I know. It's good though. It's good.
yeah,
No, I just overall, I everybody notices who you are in the industry, and I think if you look at us on a national level, everybody knows who the people that are out there trying to grow their business, trying to make a difference, and are actually a quality entity and a quality individual. I think they see that in you too, but it's also now getting noticed nationally. I mean, internationally. It's also getting noticed internationally. But my question to you is like, how did you decide, like, I'm gonna go ahead, this is not gonna be one, two, three, or four person? How did you decide, hey, we're just gonna keep building this and building this and building this, to the point where you're at, which you're doing an amazing job, because you're doing it, how I say, effectively and efficiently, clients are happy, employees are happy, and you're growing and doing it right. How hard was that for you internally to be like, hey, how am I going to grow this and how am I going to do this right? What did you think about? Like, what was your vision? What was your mission to get where you're at now and where you're continuing to go?
Yeah, so I think that one of the things that was the most difficult for me is to trust in process, trust in yourself. I think, you know, as a business owner, as a leader, as a member of a team, when you make big decisions, it's scary. There's a lot of risk involved, and you shouldn't lie about it. You shouldn't push it aside. You should understand that there's risk in any of these decisions, and educate yourself, be prepared, but understand that that feeling, that scariness of moving up and on is just part of the process. There's a saying that scared money doesn't make money.
For that.
So, you know, you have to. It's a process where you have to be brave. You don't want to be stupid. You have to make good decisions. You have to have, and you're in a solid place because you have a real solid team. You have to have a good team. You
Mhm.
have to reward them. They have to feel as a partner in the process, because you can't do it alone. You know, a lot of these investigators are lone wolves. I'm a lone wolf, but you can't grow by yourself. It's impossible. So I think that the hardest thing was to embrace some of that risk,
Mhm.
embrace some of that scariness. Like, I remember the first time that I hired an employee, and I was like, do I really need this employee? Oh, this is going to cost a lot of money to train them.
Mhm.
You know, oh, now I got to get workers comp. And I was just like, oh, this is way more expensive and harder than I thought. But you have to embrace it. If you want to grow, you have to take those steps and
Yeah.
you have to embrace that risk. Plan accordingly, but embrace it.
Okay. Another thing is, how do you feel now as far as our industry now having to address situations where some clients, you might get, or some individuals think they know it all because chat GPT's here or
Sure.
whatnot. AI is a big part. So how do you feel AI is going to take place in our industry and what effects you think it will have?
Yeah, so I think AI is going to be a great tool. I think it's going to be wonderful for case management. I think it's going to be wonderful for big data in investigation. So if you have a lot of data, case notes, reports, I think that it's going to be great for case management. But when it comes down to intuition, when it comes down to perception of human behavior, and just that feeling that we get as investigators, it's it's always going to be a human element.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think that as investigators and as business people, we have to embrace new technology. We have to apply it where we can apply it. But when it comes to educating your clients, that's where you educate them. Like, there's human behavior involved. There's things that AI is not going to be able to decipher back and forth.
Yeah.
Um, there was a computer scientist that said AI is not going to take over the world because of stupidity. Stupidity's out there. AI is so smart. It gets all this data, but the human behavior, stupidity, generalized, just our human behavior, our mistakes that we make,
Right.
our body movements, who we are as people, that's not going to be able to, that only can be recognized by another human being.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe in 100 years they'll figure it out, but for right now, I don't think that that element is going to be taken over by AI.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think that it's also important to have your staff and yourself also. That's the way I see it, is learn it. You have to learn AI, because AI won't take over our jobs or our careers or our business. But if we don't get it and understand it, it'll kind of leave us behind. And I think that's where we're in a position now, especially in our industry. Um, there's a lot of people that are just scared to even touch it or use it or learn it. And I think if they could just, you know get over that little hump and understand a little bit of what it's doing and how it can help you in many ways. I agree with you 100%. It can't do everything we do. It's not going to go sit in a car, do surveillance. It's not going to go ahead and give you that intuition or that one-on-one interaction that you can do, or the observation of certain things that are occurring. But I think if we just embrace it and understand it, we're going to be able to keep up with it and use it to our benefit versus somebody being scared and it's going to pass them by and they're going to be a little bit left behind. Because at the end of the day, if your clients think that AI can do everything and you're not implementing AI yourself, then you're definitely going to get left behind. And your clients are going to be like, well, why aren't you doing this? I found this online and you're an investigator. How could you didn't find this? So, but I agree with you on that point. It's not going to take over us, but we should learn it and embrace it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do need to embrace it. I think that AI is going to be great for repetitive tasks. I think it's going to be great for open source research. I think it's going to be great for reports and case management. But yes, you have to embrace it. And those who are not, they're going to be left in the dust.
Yep. Oh, that's it.
All right, man. Hey,
Thank you
I
for
really
having me.
appreciate it. Thanks for coming out, man.
Anytime,
Yeah.
anytime.
All
Thank
right.
you.